everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome back to a live podcast interview of the Social Selling Sisterhood podcast. I'm Lindsay Dollinger, and I am so excited to be chatting today with Rachel Snider. She is my upline's upline in Color Street world. So I will let her introduce herself so that she does all of the, her terminology of where she's at in her rankings, because I know she's like pretty much the tippy top of the Color Street empire. And then Rachel, just tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you're at.
Well, thanks for having me tonight. I'm super excited to be here. So like Lindsay said, my name is Rachel Snider. I am a Sapphire National Executive Director with Color Street, and I started from the very bottom of the barrel, if you will. And when I did start my journey, I literally had zero following. I came from literally nothing. I tried direct sales in the past, failed miserably, and I took a shot on this company because the product was freaking amazing. And so I was like, I gotta get on this. So I gave it a shot. In fact, I signed up, and I did not tell my husband that I signed up. And I sheepishly went and told him a little bit later that I had done something. And, a lot of men, when it comes to this profession and direct sales, a lot of them kind of feel like it's, skeezy or a pyramid scheme, or they're not always super supportive of it. And he was supportive of me, but he wasn't so much supportive of what I was doing as far as like the company and the sales and things like that at first. So I wouldn't say that was a hurdle at first, but it was definitely something I kind of felt like I needed to prove to him and to myself that this could really be something big. And so I went all in. And at the time, I was working as a nurse full time. I'm a registered nurse. I have my bachelor's in nursing as well. And thankfully, I was working at home. I had a home gig that I was doing for an insurance company Monday through Friday. So that was nice, so that I could spend some extra time with Color Street. But at the same time, we were also working in our own furniture business. So I essentially had 3 full-time jobs, and I really took on a lot at the beginning. I was a little nuts, I think. I had my son, who at the time was 5. I think he was like 5-ish when I started Color Street and when I started in this sales position. And so I had my hands full with him. And so I just kind of took a shot, and I went all in, honestly, with Color Street. Again, as the nurse, I believed in the product. The product was super cool. And I thought this could go places. And I really jumped in head first. I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. But I think the biggest takeaway for me was that I made a decision to be coachable. I made a decision to do what I was told to do, even if it meant failing over and over again. I needed something to work. I needed it because I was tired. I was tired of working full time. I was tired of not being present for my son. I was tired of missing things with him and not picking him up from school and not being at school activities and just missing out, period. And so I think that was my biggest why at the time was to have more freedom in my schedule and in my time and in my life. And not to mention, I had been divorced for a few years at that point and was drowning in debt, and, the single mom life of picking what to pay for. You have a mortgage, and you have a car payment, and you have groceries and gas and, things for the kids. And, some months it was picking which bills to pay and deciding which bills could wait for the next month or the next, every other month. So I had a lot of drive, and I had a lot of why that pushed me initially. So that's really, I know I probably took off with that, but that's kind of where I came from and why I feel I am where I am today. So it's a little bit of my background.
I love that. There's so many pieces of that. So one thing that you kept saying was you decided to go all in. And I feel like that is one of the things that really makes or breaks people, whether you're able to get to that success and as quickly as you want. Because I think some people, it takes them a little while to get there, but I still feel like there's a mindset of like, you have to be all in, or some kind of hurdle will come up, or, someone will say something rude to you, or you'll get in your own head, and it'll just take you a lot longer to get there if you're not all in. You know
Oh,
what I mean? What
absolutely.
did that look like for you?
Going all in for me looked like a lot of failure, to be honest. It meant lots of failed parties and lots of failed connections and lots of things not going the way I wanted them to go initially. I was probably 6 months into my journey. And though I had recruited a few people by that point, my personal sales and my personal business really wasn't going where I wanted it to go. I had party after party flop, and it was discouraging. It was very discouraging. And I'm like, this is not the way I want this to go. What do I need to do to get it in the right direction? And something that stuck with me, someone told me, I don't even know who I heard it from, but it was essentially telling me, you need to go until you get what you want as far as a yes. So even though I was having these flopped parties over and over and over, there had to be one. There had to be one party out there where someone was looking for me. Someone was looking for the opportunity that I was going to present to them, or someone was looking for the solution to a problem they had as far as their nails or money or time. And as silly as that sounds, the product that I wanted to share with people was a problem solver, whether that be for, moms who were too busy to get to a salon, or if it was working women who couldn't have their nails done, like nurses. It's very hard a lot of the time to have your nails done for safety reasons and health reasons. And this product just seemed to solve a lot of problems. It was affordable. It had amazing shades, colors, styles. People kept coming back for more. So I knew there had to be a party out there where someone was looking for what I had. And I'm so glad I didn't ever stop doing parties, because I had one party about 6 months in, and I remember it vividly because it was the one party that I had over $600 in sales in for the very first time.
Wow.
And to this day, I still reach out to her sometimes and tell her thank you for having that party, because it was so influential in my business that that's really where things got the kickstart for. I enrolled a stylist from that party. I had lots of sales from that party, and things kind of released. And I think I booked several parties from that party. So which that really helped get things going. So never stopping at a roadblock would be one of my biggest pieces of advice, because there is someone out there looking for what you have to offer.
I love that. And you never know, like, you could be one party away from that one
That's
that
right.
is just going to change your business.
Absolutely. And if I had stopped, I would have never gotten there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Isn't that crazy to think about? You're like, thank you, hostess. You were the best person ever.
It's so wild. And, you think back in hindsight and you're like, gosh, if I hadn't kept going and if I hadn't booked that party, I would not be where I am today. I'm convinced of it. So,
yeah. I mean, you might have even gotten frustrated and quit if your mindset wasn't right.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned you heard that from someone, and you've talked about being coachable. What does that mean? So if someone's like, okay, I'm starting this business and I'm hearing be coachable, like, what's something I can do to be more coachable?
I think being open to constructive criticism is a big part of that. And no one likes to be criticized, and no one likes to be told they're doing something wrong. But I think in order to be successful, you have to be able to take that in stride. And because if someone's telling you something that you need to be doing, or you need to change the way that you're doing something, those are very valuable, especially from the people who are telling you to do that. If you look at their success, they know what they're talking about. And I think that's a big hurdle for some people to get over, is being told what to do, and I'm the kind of leader where I hate to micromanage. I hate it with a passion. I hate it so much. So I'm not going to just sit there and, look over his shoulder and make sure you're doing everything the way that I would do it, because the way I do things doesn't always work for people. But what I can tell you are the systems that work. And, if I see you doing something that isn't getting any results, I'm definitely going to chime in and I'm going to share with you what I think might work. And being open to new suggestions and new processes, I think, is very important. And just kind of letting go of your pride, letting go of that. I don't need, someone to tell me what to do. I absolutely needed someone to tell me what to do, because I had no freaking idea what was going on when it came to direct sales. I'm very clinical. I'm very, into the nursing world. I was not into sales, and I hate being salesy and spammy. I hate it. It makes me it just makes me feel so icky.
Which I think is so funny, because I've never, ever seen you ever come across that way, but yet you still managed to build literally, essentially, it's like an empire, like an empire, but really though. And I think you've done an amazing job at building that without ever coming across that way. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to get their mind around. They think if I sign up, then I'm immediately going to turn into this person that is like the bad version, the one we think of when we think of network marketers or direct sellers. And it doesn't have to be that way at all.
No.
So you mentioned systems. What sort of systems did you either start creating, either, with your business or the team side of the business, or have you taken from other people to tweak? Because I think systems are really, you said you had 3 full-time jobs when you started this?
I did.
Like
crazy person.
Yeah, that gives me anxiety just thinking about it. I have one full-time job.
That's why I have a lot of anxiety
now. I do. So you had to have systems in place. What can you tell someone who's struggling with time management or doing things, or just either one of those things? What are some tips for some systems?
I think pre-scheduling things out was the biggest game changer for me initially, especially because I was so busy. I really took the time to sit down on Saturday or Sunday and pre-schedule things out for the week, so that I didn't feel overwhelmed with having to do those things, because I knew having a presence online, especially since I was just starting to build my network, because I just had family and friends on my, social media. I had nothing. I had nothing when it came to that. So I think spending the time online and pre-scheduling posts out for my customers or for my friends or whomever to see routinely was very important and very beneficial, because they saw me on a regular basis. They saw me being consistent, and I think consistency is key in anything that you do, not just business, but I think in all of your life. I think consistency really pays off. And they knew to expect me, essentially. They knew to expect a post from me, 2 to 3 times a day. They knew to look for that. If they weren't interested, they weren't interested. And that, that didn't bother me, because I knew there was someone else that was. So I think being intentional about your time and scheduling things out so you're not overwhelmed with it throughout the week was one of the biggest system wins for me.
Sorry, I'm trying to mute my mic when I'm not talking, so there's not a background. I don't have my headphones in. I think scheduling posts is a huge lifesaver, just the way around. And then I got off track. You said something with that. Oh, they were expecting you to show up, and the consistency. And if they didn't want to see your post or they didn't want to interact with them, then that's fine. It's not. I think that mindset right there probably has gotten you the furthest, because but really we get so in our head oh, I don't want to post about Color Street again, or I don't want to post about this again, or what if people judge me? And I remember I reached out to you. I don't know if you remember this last summer or in the fall. And I was like, girl, how did you do it? And you were like, I swallowed my pride and I just did it. And I was like, ooh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Because that's really what's holding back so many of us is just that. And I don't even know if I guess it's pride or just fear of judgment but it's such a blocker.
You're right. I think it's the fear of being judged and the fear of being made fun of, even as silly as that sound as adults. But, people talk about you. I mean, it is what it is. And you just have to remember that you're doing this for your own reasons. You're not doing this for anyone else. They're not paying your bills. You're paying your bills. Yeah. And, you're taking that time that you get from doing this to be with your family. They're not doing it to be with your family. Don't worry about what other people think of you, because that's going to be your biggest roadblock. 100%. Kelly France always said your why has to be bigger than your pride. And that was something that always stuck with me as well. And you had to get your pride out of your way. I mean, I really do think that that's one of the biggest things that stops people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think people get so up in their head and so worried what other people think of them. And I've been there. I was that way too. But I came to a point in my life when I'm like, listen, I got to do something different. I can't keep struggling the way I'm struggling. And I have things that are important to me in my life. And I'm not going to live forever. And I need to get this done. This is what I need to do in order to get what I want. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's even harder, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like it's even harder for us to talk to people about the business opportunity than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Do you have any tips on that? Like what?
For the opportunity itself?
Yeah, like how, or even as a leader, and, I have, people under me on my team, how do I help them get out of that mind block of presenting an opportunity to someone who would be a great stylist?
I think there's several different ways that you can approach that. I think reminding people to make personal connections with people and continuing to share your life and the progress that you are making, and making it visible to other people. Because I initially, I had so many people watching me and not even commenting or talking to me about it or anything. And then 4, 5, 6 months later, they'd drop into my messages and be like, hey, I saw a post a couple months ago, and it really stuck with me. And I keep seeing what you're saying and what you're posting and what you're doing. And I think I want to be a part of it. So I think just sharing and being vulnerable, I think that's one of the biggest things, is being vulnerable about who you are, what your story is, what your why is, and putting it out there for people to see, because there are so many people that are in the exact same boat that you are, who are looking for a life raft, truly. And if you're not sharing your story, you're doing a disservice to people. And I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to presenting the opportunity, is being vulnerable and sharing your own personal story, because that's what brings people to you. And you want to attract people to your business. You don't want to just, like, I don't know, go fishing for people. Like, you want people that are really wanting what you have, or wanting to work for it and wanting to put in the effort. Those are the people that you want to really invest in, because they're going to be key players in business.
Yeah, I think that's huge, because we want business builders. We don't want the people who are, just there to get the kit or, whatever like that. And I do think that makes a huge difference.
Well, time is money. And if I'm going to invest my time into you, I want it to be worth something, whether it be more time or I'm helping you make money. Like, those are the things that are important when it comes to leadership. And I think that's a roadblock as well when it comes to leadership, because, you don't want to make everything about money. But I mean, truly, you're in this as a business person, business woman, businessman, and you're here for a reason. So you have to be business savvy. And so you want to be able to help those who want the same thing.
Yes, 100%. And one of the things that I heard, I don't remember where I heard it, was that you should spend 80% of your time with your like top 20% of your leaders. And that was I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true, because I find myself, you sometimes gravitate toward the people who need you the most, who you're trying to get maybe doing the business more than they even want to do the business themselves. And time is money. Like, you gotta spend it wisely, and who you're investing in and who you're allowing into your valuable time.
Absolutely. And I think being a top leader or being a leader in general, you have to be okay with delegation. And I think teaching that as a leader is super important, because as your business and your teams grow bigger and bigger, and they will, you physically and mentally cannot take on every single person in your business like that. So you have to be able to teach your leaders to be strong and to be leaders to those people in your shoes, essentially. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think what you said, spending 80% of your time with your top leaders, that trickles down. And you want a positive mindset, you want good leadership, you want those things to really filter throughout your team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, I wasn't planning on asking this, but I feel like it kind of goes along this way. So what would you do if, or maybe you have this experience, I don't know, but as you are kind of hoping to duplicate the systems on your team, if you have someone who's coming along who is maybe building a team under them as well, but maybe they don't vibe necessarily with kind of like your team culture, maybe, or they're either trying to do things a different way. Maybe it's working for them, maybe it's not, maybe it's positive, maybe it's not. Do you have any tips on that?
That's a tricky one, because again, as your leaders start, moving up and hitting director and senior director and executives and things like that, it gets a little tricky, because you don't want to step on a leader's toes. That is technically their team. That's, they've taken responsibility for that team. I think the only thing that you can really do is be a good example, be a good leading example, and emulate how you want your team to be. And I feel like I have a very positive group culture, I feel, and I take a lot of pride in that, because that's very important to me, not only in business, but in my personal life as well. Yeah. Sometimes people might call me a positive Polly, and that's fine, but it's gotten me far in life, and it's gotten me where I want to be. So yep, that's something that I'm not ever going to change. And, I'm a realist. I can see real situations, and I can see when people are, having an issue or trouble, but I also like to still, lean on the side of positivity, because I think that trickles down just as easily as negativity, but it gives us such a better outcome as a team in general. So when you ask about other teams and other, leaders, it's just, I think lead by example is the best answer to that question. If they're having serious trouble, I might reach out and just be like, you know what, hey, I noticed, this, or someone came to me with this. How do you feel about it? And just really try to figure out their thinking behind it and kind of go from there.
I love that. And I will say, because I've done other direct sales companies before, and one of the very first things when I came in, I was like, this is going to be different, because the team pages are all really positive. Everyone's helping each other out. Like, it was just kind of a very different culture than I had been in before. And I was like, this is very nice.
It makes such a difference. Mm-hmm. When you have a nurturing team and a positive team, I think you thrive. Because if you're in a team where there's lots of negativity, or there's, a lot of judgment, that'll like me personally, that would shut me down real quick. I'd have no interest and I'd be gone. But that's just the kind of person that I am. I don't like that. I don't have the energy for that.
Well, it takes up energy, and it takes up time when you're dealing with all the negativity and trying to put out fires. And it's so much nicer when it all just runs smoothly.
It is. And that's, that doesn't always happen, but that's what we strive for.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other thing that, and you mentioned delegation, is I noticed right off the bat, it wasn't necessarily always you doing trainings. Like you were obviously showing up in the face of your team and the group, but you were delegating out to your other leaders, and sometimes even women who weren't leaders yet. Maybe it was just a bonus qualified stylist who had done some amazing parties, and just that sharing atmosphere and delegating others to do things, I think was a really positive thing for me to see as an upcoming leader. And that I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. I can do this because I don't have to be the one doing all the things.
Oh, absolutely, because it's impossible. It is absolutely 100% impossible. And I think it empowers people when you ask them to do trainings or you ask them for their advice as a top leader. And I see, a bonus qualified stylist selling $10,000 a month. Hey, what are you doing? Let me in on your secrets. Like, I need you to share this with the team. Whatever you're doing is great. So let's, I want to learn from you. I can get to be in the top of the company completely, and I would still reach out to someone who is new to the company or bonus qualified senior stylist, whatever, and want to pick their brain because your ideas I may not have never thought of. And I think it's, you have to take a dose of humble pie because I may be at the top, but I don't know everything. I'll never know everything. So when someone comes in with awesome ideas, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Well, and stuff changes so quickly. I mean, Zoom parties and we're doing this, we're doing that. And I'm like,
I know, you can't keep up half the time.
Yeah, no, you really can't. But that's kind of the beauty of it too, is we can all do the same end goal, but we can get there in different ways, which I really love.
For sure.
Okay, let me see if there was anything else. Okay, last thing I'm going to ask you before we hop off here, because I know, how old's your youngest now?
He's 6.5 months old. I can't believe it.
I was going to say a year, but
no.
He's only 6.5 months old.
Like 6.5 months old.
You're like pandemic baby.
Oh, for sure.
I bet you can have some stories about that.
Never get pregnant during a pandemic. 0 out of 5 stars. I do not recommend.
I had so many friends have babies, and I'm like, I just heard all, just all the things about how, at the very beginning, their husbands couldn't even be in the room and just all, and I'm like, what? No. I can't even. No, and I don't even have kids. No. Anyway, what would you tell someone like literally just starting out? Maybe it's something that you wish you would have done sooner, or just some sort of motivation or tip for someone who just signed up for Color Street and now they're super excited and they're like, I want to be the next Rachel Snider.
I think just don't stop. I think go for no. I think get as many no's as you possibly can, because in those no's, you're going to find the one yes that skyrockets your business. Whether it takes 3 weeks or it takes 3 years. I mean, I know that's, really out there, but if you really want this, stick with it. Reach out to other leaders, reach out to other successful stylists that you see in this business and talk to them, pick their brain, ask what they're doing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's another big thing. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I am struggling. I feel like I'm failing at this. What can I do to pivot what I'm doing to find success? And truly, I think it's not an overnight thing. It never will be. You have to be open to that. I think you have to realize that this is not something that's just going to fall in your lap. This is something that you need to work for. It's something that is 150% doable if you stick with it. So just jump over those hurdles, get through them, on to the next, and keep going.
I love that. Oh my gosh, Rachel, this was so good. You gave so many truth bombs. I'm definitely sharing this with all my teammates. Like, you have to listen right now. You're like our great grandma Rachel in the Color Street. Okay, guys, if you want to find Rachel, where can they find you?
Oh gosh, they can find me. I'm just Rachel Snider on Facebook, The Real Deal Nail Swag on Instagram, and then The Real Deal Nail Swag at gmail.com.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, guys. You definitely need to connect with Rachel. She is absolutely amazing. And thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.